Hello everyone, welcome to my video. My name is Contortioninf and today I'm going to be reviewing this Portals colouring book. It's a fan-made item, so it's unofficial. It was illustrated by Marie-Ange Martin and this is the cover. It has coloured examples of illustrations on the front and the Portals moth silhouette on the back. So I bought this book because I like drawing fan art from this era and I like colouring books just anyway. Melanie doesn't have an official Portals colouring book as of yet, and maybe I'll review her Crybaby one at some point, but I didn't get that one because I didn't want to be teased by like my family or my friends because it does look like a book for little kids. I've already started on the first page of the colouring book and maybe I'll show you that at the end of the video, but today we're just going to focus on this new fresh page, which is the second page in the book. And the first thing that I'm going to do is complete the rest of the sketch with a pencil and fine liner. So this was actually one of the things lots of people complained about in the reviews of the product that I saw. They didn't like how the drawings were like disembodied torsos with no background. Personally, I like this because I get to customize the page better. I really like drawing, and I feel like I've got more claim to the final design because like I drew half of it myself. But I guess as a product that's meant to be a colouring book, people buy it to colour in and not to draw in. So I guess that's a fair point, and that's something to consider if you want to get this. So for my design, I chose a mushroom theme, and in hindsight, maybe I should have picked flowers instead. That would make more sense with the like original, what was already there. And I still like what I drew though. I gave her a big like poofy skirt, and I drew those like, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like horizontal disc mushrooms. And I put those all across it, and I drew some big toadstools in the background and some little smaller ones that were like on the floor. In terms of the quality of Marie's designs, every single one is really beautifully drawn. I'm not sure if they were her original designs or if some of them were maybe traced from pre-existing images, or maybe it was like a combination, but I'm not sure. And if they are original designs, then she's clearly a very talented illustrator. Some pages, like this one, are really crisp and perfect. However, some are like a little bit blurry and pixelated. And my guess would be that the pixelated ones, they had to be enlarged when they were formatted for the book, and so they aren't coming across as well because of like the pixel count and stuff. I don't really know how it works, but that's what I think. Lots of the designs are quite small. Like this one was a pretty small one, so they don't get much smaller than that, but yeah, a lot of them are quite small. As I said though, I don't mind having the extra space to draw in, but people did complain about that in the reviews. To be fair, I did struggle to stay in the lines around smaller details like the eyes and the little flowers and stuff, so I'd have the designs maybe like a bit bigger for that reason, but I do kind of just suck at staying in the lines anyway, so maybe that's just a me problem. This is a pretty big book, so there's like lots of designs to colour, which I really like. There were 50 individual portraits, and most of them are just of Melanie as the creature, but at least 2 show the creature interacting with Crybaby, and I thought that was a really cool, unique idea. And I also like the way that they were only on one side of the page, so that you could use pens without like compromising the design on the opposite side. Speaking of materials that you can use in the book, the paper quality isn't particularly substantial. It's slightly thicker than regular printer paper, and it's perfectly suitable for colouring with pencils and fine liners. However, using paints like watercolours and acrylics might not work very well, which I suppose is like completely fair enough because you don't tend to use those for colouring anyway. My only real cause for complaint is that the kind of the water-based felt tips bleed through the paper, so you can see that on like the opposite side where I've done the first one. And they actually kind of got all the way through to the next page as well, like not a lot, but there were little flecks of colour over the next design. And I guess that's not really a big problem because you can just put like a piece of scrap paper or something between the two to like protect the other page. But I would have maybe liked for it to not do that. But like, you know, I get it because if the paper was better quality, then the product would be overall more expensive, so it is completely fair. So the materials I ended up using were obviously fine liner for the drawing, but I also used pens and pencils for the main design. Pens were for like the main colours and then pencils for the shading mostly. I'd recommend for like waiting a little bit for the ink to completely dry before going over it with pen or pencil because the damp paper might like tear or get kind of crunchy and gross like if you don't wait for it to completely dry. And I also used coloured fine liners to add details specifically for the hair, which is a technique that I use quite often. And I also tried to use watercolour for the background, as you just saw, but it actually worked kind of okay. Like, it bled through the paper, which was fine, even though it was quite a pale colour. And it didn't warp the paper that much either, so I guess, like, it kind of worked. However, obviously, because it's not watercolour paper, it didn't, like, spread very well. Like the paint was soaked up very quickly. So I did have to use quite a lot and have to keep, like, reapplying it to my brush. But as a final product, it was fine. The cover of the book, I think, is very well designed. The colour on the front and the spine, they tie in with the colours of the, like, example illustrations. And it's also slightly shiny, which makes it a bit more durable. And I'm pretty sure, now this is just me being completely pedantic and silly, because, like, it doesn't matter, but I'm pretty sure, like, Martinez should have a possessive apostrophe, but, like, it's not important, because it's a colouring book and not, like, a grammar book. I'm just being silly and trying to find faults, because overall it's, like, a really good product, and there's only, like, a couple things that I can pick about. So, like I said, it's not an official Melanie product, but I did want to comment on its authenticity and sort of trueness to the official portal's content. Overall, it's very good. I'm pretty sure they are original designs, but they all look exactly like Melanie's creature, and some of the outfits and hairstyles even are, like, exactly the same. The only consistencies with Melanie's content are just where Marie has used her own creativity to come up with different concepts. Like, for example, one illustration shows Melanie as a mermaid, and another one poses her next to a dragon, and I like these ideas. I think they give the book more variety, since it's essentially 50 drawings of the same character. Having this kind of variation, in my opinion, makes it more interesting, since the drawings become more kind of individual and, I guess, like, unique. I might be wrong about that, though. Maybe Mel did post a picture of the creature as a mermaid and I missed it or something, I don't know. So if I got that wrong, then you can call me out, that's fine. So I guess the only thing left to discuss really is the price. And the product costs £11.66, which is $14.46 in the US, $20.63 in Canada, and $23.08 in Australia. Personally, I think this is a very fair price considering the quality of the product. I know I complained a bit about the paper, but for this price, I think that was completely fair. Had the book been, say, £15, I would have expected better paper. But yes, this is a good price. I wouldn't call it a bargain, but it's definitely fair. So, in conclusion, I would definitely recommend this book to any artistic Melanie fan. I think it would make a great gift for somebody, or just a cool thing you get yourself. I can't speak for the rest of Marie's work. This is my only product of hers that I've bought, but if the quality is consistent across all her work, then I definitely recommend her other colouring books. She has a second Portals one and a Trilogy Tour one, which I personally would quite like to get, and you can buy all of her products on Amazon. And the product isn't perfect. Like I said, some illustrations have pixelation issues, the paper could be thicker, but so long as you keep that in mind when selecting materials, it's really not, like, a big deal. And if I were to rate the product out of 10, I'd give it an 8.5. I had lots of fun drawing and colouring in it, and I hope that if you get it, which you don't have to, I'm not going to press you into buying this, but if you got it, I think you'd also have fun. So for the second half of the video, I'm just going to talk about my process for this piece and maybe give you some inspiration if you think you will buy it. So you don't have to watch the rest of the video if you just wanted to see the review, but if you'd like some ideas or if you'd want some sort of, like, tips, I guess, for different colouring in techniques, then you should watch the rest of the video. So I use a very mixed media approach with this page. What I did first was I got my, like, felt tip pens and I kind of just coloured all of the areas that I knew were going to be, like, a bold, solid colour. So for her hair, for example, I didn't do that because I wanted to maintain some of the highlights in it. So what I did was I got a coloured fine liner and I coloured it by just sort of following, like, the motion of her hair, like the direction that I could see it went in. And that would leave, like, little white gaps between it that were kind of like the highlights in her hair. And then after I'd done all the different block colours, I would get either a coloured pencil or a coloured fine liner, I had a set of pens that were felt tip on one side and fine liner on the other, so if you've got some of those, that's a really cool tool that you can use. And I'd use the I'd use the fine liners or the pencils to just do the details. So, for example, in the grass, I use lots of different colours, and that's another tip, I guess, is using lots of different colours for like that kind of texture. So like a grass texture or a hair texture, it looks more realistic if you put different shades of the colour. So for example, in the hair, it's pink obviously, but I used red and like a dark purple to put the shadows in it to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I kind of did a similar thing with the skirt, which is mainly white, but I used purple and grey for the shadows. In terms of picking out colours, which I think is a kind of the main kind of thing in colouring that people struggle with, is picking out what colours to use. For me, I always like to have like a very balanced distribution of the colours. So at the bottom, I've got green. I've also got green at the top because I used green for the background. And then I've got the big red mushrooms at the top, and the red colour is echoed in the smaller mushrooms lower down the page and also in her hair. And then for the purple, she's got purple on her skirt, obviously, but then I use purple flowers to kind of balance out that colour too. So that way it just makes the kind of the composition more harmonious, I guess, and it's kind of less ugly and jarring to look at. Speaking of ugly and jarring, I don't like the colour that I picked for her wings and her kind of bodice, like her kind of corset looking top bit. For some reason, when I started drawing this, I always envisioned the colour of the wings would be that colour, because it's kind of like caramelly, crystally. It reminded me of like when people use like melted sugar to make like that kind of texture, like that net texture for like cakes and stuff. It's like the randomest, stupidest thing. And so for that reason, I always thought that would be the colour of the wings. And so I wanted to like obviously pick another area to have also be that colour so it wouldn't look random. So that's why I picked her top. But I don't know, it didn't go very nicely with the rest of the colours. I feel like it went nicely with the red, and it went nicely with the purple, but altogether it didn't go nicely. So I don't know, there's not really much I can do about that now. I also think one problem was I left her skin for last, which is like such a stupid thing to do, because her skin is like a set colour, like the creature's skin is that sort of pinky, kind of beigey pink, mainly pinky colour. And so I picked every other colour for the whole rest of the piece, and then when I put in a minute you'll see, when I put in that pinky colour, it just kind of looked bad, because her hair was a similar colour, like a darker version of that colour. It just kind of clashed with the rest of it, so I feel like when I added her skin colour, it kind of ruined the whole piece, but like, there's not really anything I can do about that. Like, I couldn't just pick a different colour, because then it wouldn't be Melanie, because that's not what colour Melanie is. I think in general, though, I'm kind of happy with how it turned out in the end. I feel like this stage where it's at now is how I'm happiest with it. Obviously, I said about adding the skin, but I like the background and I like the skirt. I'm pretty pleased with that, and I really like how I did her hair too. One idea that I had for this colouring book was on the opposite side of the page where it's blank. I could write like a lyric from one of the Portal songs, and I could try and pick them so that they tell kind of a story as you go through the book, or maybe I could do them in order, or maybe like not even picking lyrics. I could just write like a story with the scenes that I've made. I'm not really sure how that would work, but that would be quite a cool thing to do if I wanted to, if I eventually finished the whole book and I wanted to do like a tour of it, like a flip through. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to do another video of colouring, I'm not really sure what I would say about it, if I would just go on about how I coloured it, or if we did a Q&A one time, then this could be what I do the Q&A over. But yeah, if you liked it and you want me to do more colouring, I'd be happy to, because I really want to finish this book, and I don't know if I'd have time to if I was doing other things as well as colouring the book. But if I I don't know, I'm just rambling, I don't know. But yeah, we're coming up to the end of the video now. I hope you liked it. I know it was kind of random towards the end. I was kind of trying to think of more things to say about the colouring. But yeah, I hope you found it helpful. And if you have the book, then let me know what you think of it in the comments. Next week, we're going to be doing more journaling again, like we did last week. And I'm going to be giving you ideas for different, crafts and stuff of, things you could make to do with Melanie and merch and things. This is the final thing. It's kind of bad. It's okay. No, I like it. I do like it. I'm just not completely happy with it. And then this one here is the first one that I did on the other page. But yeah, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video, and I hope to see you next week as well. Bye.